All right, welcome to Crypto Off the Crypto Cuff. This is Jesse and Jeff. It's two friends having a conversation while we have a drink, usually some whiskey of some sort.
Cheers.
And just kind of have a conversation, see where this goes. So,
please comment below, add your thoughts, and join in on the conversation.
yeah. So speaking of drink, I'm drinking the Whistle Pig, or a whiskey pig, like you call it sometimes, but the 10-year made myself a little. It's a rye, so I made myself a little old fashioned here tonight.
Okay.
How about you?
The 14-year.
Oh, okay. Still drinking on the 14-year.
The other one was the 12.
Oh, okay. That's right. You're right.
Yeah. So this one I just picked up.
14 years better, I think. But
well, the 12 year is done in a cherry cast, which gives it more wine notes. This one's done in a rum cast, which makes it a little bit sweeter.
Which I think that's the Caribbean cast, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Caribbean rum. Yep.
Plus it's a little older, it's a little smoother. Yeah. No, I do like that one a lot. That's one of my favorites. So we want to kick it off.
Let me actually start off with where we kind of we touched on a few things on the last episode, and I do apologize with the last episode being really choppy. It's completely my fault on the recording side.
We're still trying to figure this out.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about something that James Allen Wood said, CTO of Algorand, about if you need a sidechain, you actually failed in a way on the primary chain. And we were trying to figure out exactly what that means and pontificating a little bit and failed. And Coin Bureau brought this up is gas fees on Ethereum right now are the lowest they've ever been. And one of the reasons is that people are not actually using the main chain as much, especially with the turbulent market. The price is down, so there's a lot fewer exchanges happening, which brings the gas fees down because there's fewer people bidding over getting their stuff done. Because a lot of actual activity has moved to side chains like Polygon. Because it's faster, it's cheaper, even when it gets busy. And there's becomes the Achilles heel is that when you have a side chain to pick up the slack of what the main chain's not able to do, and the side chain's effectively equivalent to you because Polygon can execute Ethereum smart contracts. So why get into a high congested thing that's slower when I can get into something that's higher speed? So that's where I was kind of getting into. And when we actually started discussing why you would want a sidechain and use cases for that, can lend into some of the topics that we want to talk about with real world adoption and usability. So one of the things that, we kept coming up, and this happened a few years ago, Algorand actually had a partnership with FIFA. So basically soccer is really big around the world. A lot of fans, so a lot of eyes. And I looked it up a little bit and they're saying, well, it's all in a couple of regions, but still, it's a huge sport. And you're actually talking about, the parent organization. And they're starting to put banners and QR codes, and everybody knows how to use the QR code. And this is basically to buy player cards via NFTs. That are officially FIFA sponsored, and all this is done on the Algorand blockchain, which is actually really cool. And the people don't have to actually know that what they're buying is actually hosted on Algorand. They don't need an Algorand wallet. They don't need Algorand. They can just buy the NFT and then have it, which is kind of neat. So that's where I'm actually kind of thinking is that when you actually get into these use cases where you're trying to hide the underlying technology for people that just don't care how the technology works or don't want to get involved, that's potentially where those things can end up happening. So basically, how do you hide or layer out? Because we've already had that conversation, a few episodes ago. Is that when it starts becoming ubiquitous and people just don't know what they're doing,
Right. Yep. Remember that.
You know, and which kind of leads into this next one, which is the Triple X.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. The idea of that. I mean, not only just like it creates another level of security too. Like you can,
It's another level of security is because especially when digital IDs get associated to your wallets, it's like now you have your ID and your ticket. So TravelX, they're a company and they're basically introducing a virtual or NFT ticketing system, and they've onboarded a lot of airlines around the world, excluding the United States. And again, I blame our regulatory state because of that. Right. We're falling behind in technology and legit technology because how adversarial they are. And one of the things that this actually opens up, and one of the biggest pain points for customers, is if I buy a ticket, I don't own that ticket, and that ticket has an expiration date. And if for some reason I can't go, and I don't have, and I didn't spend the extra money for a refundable ticket, I just lost money.
Yep.
But with an NFT, I can trade it on the secondary market. And the really cool thing is that, and they've detailed this in some of their stuff, is that there's a 2% kickback that can go back to the airline when the ticket resells. So now there's an incentive to allow the resale of tickets.
Yeah. No, that's legit. I mean, it makes sense in so many ways. I mean, we're already sort of doing, like you touched on the real ID thing. We're already doing that right now with driver's license. Maryland just switched over to the real ID, and you can literally have your ID on your cell phone now. And when you go to the airport, when you're going through security, they don't even, like when you're doing pre-check or any of those other ones, they don't necessarily check your ticket anymore. You literally just give them your ID, and that's all they're checking. It's all connected, with your, because so it's this would just be almost the next step, essentially, just to kind of, you can almost, like, it all goes together. It's with the ticket and your ID and just security, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I like that. So we'll see. Maybe as time moves on, we can catch up.
Yeah, and it just a lot of moving pieces and parts, and I'm just hoping that the United States doesn't fall too far behind in a lot of this.
Yeah,
because a lot of these systems are just antiquated. And so another one that was kind of interesting, and I know that I'm kind of like bringing up Algorand a lot. It's just I'm invested in a lot of different tokens, XRP, HBAR, Casper, Harmony, Algorand, of course. But the thing is,
you're not betting anymore, but I'm investing.
Right. And so I'm not trying to promote one over another, but this is the one where I know where the applications are, and I'm just trying to promote where utility exists in the real world today and where things are actually happening. I'm trying to find stuff for other chains, but it's not as easy. So I tried looking up for XRP, a lot of partnerships, and they're saying there's a lot of applications, but there was, actually on their page, it was like, hey, here's these applications, but it was pictures. There was no links. Yeah, which is disappointing. Is it's like I wanted to be able to see something so I could actually talk about it. So
well, I do know they're already moving cross-border, movement of funds.
We could discuss that a little bit because I do have some thoughts there, and this is kind of getting into the definition of what it means to be a partner. The partnership thing. So we can get into that. Maybe it turns into a little bit of debate. Maybe it can be a little bit of a devil's advocate, but we'll see how that goes. Okay. But this one is that there's a company called Quants Payments, and with the European Union, they are very, very, very strict regulatorily, and they actually got a license, or Quants Payments got a license through the Deutsche Central Bank to tokenize the euro on top of Algorand.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it is a legit licensed and stablecoin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so I thought that was actually kind of interesting, and considering that the regulatory hurdles that they would potentially have to go through, that was actually pretty big.
Yeah, because well, euros more than just one country, so you're talking about multiple countries.
Oh
that
yes,
are using it. So yeah, the fact that they were able to get that approved, it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
And partnership has come up a lot because a lot of people have partnerships. Casper's got partnerships, XRP's got partnerships. I mean, a lot of people have partnerships. Yeah. And I'm just trying to take this from the perspective of, my background being an engineer or programmer, trying to do requirements, for customers and, working with other teams. And, a lot of times, we'll end up trying to decide on a technology and we'll have to test several different things. And sometimes, we'll either have to go, sometimes technology A works really well and it just fits. Sometimes nothing on the board fits and you just have to roll your own solution. Or more often than not, it's like you find something that's close and you try to basically build the middleware to glue everything together so that a way it works for your use case. Right. And that's why I see a lot of these announced partnerships as they're in this testing phase of we're going to see if this actually does work for us. And that's the big announcement was, well, there's this partnership. Well, the partnership doesn't tell us exactly what the partnership is for. And there was a meme, and I sent it to you as a joke. 2050, Brad Garlinghouse, still talking about now signing on 10 more banks. Yeah. Projecting, this is XRP's year. Yeah. Because it's that joke or meme is that we've been hearing about partnerships for a long time with XRP, but have we actually realized anything yet? That's the question. And it's like, as of right now, I can't find actual evidence of anything actually happening.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe it is. Some of it's just talk to try to, get things flowing, to kind of get the buzz. That's what it's just trying to build that buzz. But I know people have talked about it. I don't know for sure. I honestly haven't even read it myself. What, like you're talking about, what I thought MoneyGram, I thought they proved something with MoneyGram at one time. They're working with MoneyGram. Wasn't it XRP with MoneyGram? I can't remember. Ripple. Partnership. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. Well, that's not. All right. Not what I was looking for, but basically blockchain firm Ripple to end partnership with MoneyGram in 2021. Okay. So that's not, that's the opposite of what I was looking for.
It didn't help your case now, did it?
No, it did not. Yeah. That's interesting. I do remember them talking about that, but was there, I don't know. What's it? Cross-border payments.
Well, and there's a lot of overloaded terms that go along with this. One of the terms and Ripple and XRP try to own is DLT. Digital. What is it? Digital ledger technology or distributed ledger technology. Distributed, I think that's the word. And so there was actually a paper coming out by Swift, and they didn't actually mention a chain in there, but they said that by utilizing DLT, we're going to be able to reduce costs and increase speed of getting cross-border payments. Well, two key words: cross-border payments and DLT, and the whole XRP community went alive, be like, "See, here it is," And well, do you know the tail end or the joke of that story? You're shaking your head.
Well, it's because go ahead. Yeah, it's not this. It's
not XRP.
Yeah, it's UAE. Yeah, expanding operations in the UAE. Basically, what I'm seeing here now, Ripple is currently working on cross-border payments, including rebranding Ripple to Ripple Payments, launching Ripple Payments Direct, expanding operation in UAE, developing a stablecoin, targeting more US players. So, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it all sounds good. And I think that's the thing, though, is like again, yes, Algorand seems to be talking the talk and walking the walk, right?
And it just seems
it's just smaller because they're they don't have the name, they don't have the buzz, like that Bitcoin has, or XRP is starting to, I think, become more and more. But it's just all about. But what the thing is to me, and like we talked about this before, is that Bitcoin doesn't have a real use case, right? It doesn't have an actual ability to do anything. The one thing it can do is you can transfer it, but how long does it take? 45 minutes, something like that. Whereas a lot of these other coins like XRP, is they're saying, this is our plan, this is what we're trying to do, real use case scenarios of what we're doing currently, what we do currently in this world, and we're going to make it faster and more secure, and that's, I don't know, I think they've been around for so long that that it's just getting the backing, I think, is the big part. I feel like if Bitcoin would have had a use case like this, that, for real, the backing that it has, it could have really, it could go way further than what it is. We could see the numbers that they've talked about, like $100,000 Bitcoin, something like that. But I don't know. But yeah, go ahead with Algorand. Sorry.
Well, I wasn't going to go into Algorand, but well, the thing is that they're using a technology that I'm not invested in. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But it's Chainlink.
Okay.
Right now, so basically, so Chainlink's big pitch is that they're not trying to actually be a layer one. They're trying to actually to be the middleware to glue layer ones together seamlessly. So Swift is actually plugging into Chainlink for DLT, and that's basically what came out as the correction. Be like, yeah, we don't. They don't have anything to do with Ripple or XRP. They're actually trying to use Chainlink to accomplish this, to where they can actually effectively get into multi-chain in a single way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, multi-chain too. That's a big one. Yeah, I just quickly found something. Dubai licenses Ripple to launch cross-border paymentless services. This was just yesterday announced. The company partnership in the UAE, including with the FCC Innovation Hub, aim to foster blockchain development, and it reportedly allows Ripple to offer better cross-border payments. So, I think that's what it is. I think they just need to have the support, like, they're talking about Dubai here, to be able to make it happen. I think it's like they probably developed the technology, they have it, it's available, but it's just getting people to use it and support it, stand behind it.
And that's kind of
actual use cases. Yeah.
Right. And that turns into my statement is that, or my point is, Ripple's able to make this statement, which is probably factual, that they have a partnership with Dubai, and they're probably are seriously taking a look at Ripple, but they're also probably taking a look at technology B, C, D, and E. So does that necessarily mean they're going to choose Ripple at the end of the day?
Right.
Because again, it's like, I really haven't got into any development. I haven't looked at any of the development tools for any of the chains. So I'm trying to be unbiased about this. But when it actually comes down to it, when you're selecting a technology, you don't just have the initial cost of developing, the product, because typically to get you in, it's either some foundations helping you out, like Ripple, they're going to basically help in some way, but they're probably actually paying them, trying to bring in that, subject matter experts, to help. But really, it's at that prototype phase. It's like, which one actually, can we get into? And then once you have that initial phase, they're also going to be taking a look at, okay, well, what does the maintenance of this new integration going to look like long term? Because the code's got to be maintained. And if it's difficult to maintain, it's going to get, slashed out and cut, because you have to take a look at those long-term costs for doing this implementation. So that's where it's like, yeah, I mean, we're after a utility, but you have to. But this is where it's mildly annoying every time I hear that that word partnership. Is it's like, okay, it's fine, but I'm trying to look at it in that more analytical way. Is this a partnership where they're actually building something that's going to get deployed in the real world and I'll be able to see it in about a year or two? Or is this a partnership where they're just trying to do an integration test to see if that marriage works?
Right. So basically you're saying is it gonna become something or not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, essentially that's what if it's just like a test versus an actual thing. Yeah. All right. Well, what else do you want to talk about?
Do you want to talk about the strike?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting, honestly. And this is my thing is like, so okay, so I think because of COVID, they realized the impact that our ports have on us.
Mm-hmm.
So those people have essentially wised up, is what I feel like, and said, hey, if we want something, all we got to do is strike because we're going to get it because the entire country depends on us. I guess I didn't. I mean, I knew it, but I didn't know it that they were unionized.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of interesting because I wonder if there's a whole. I don't know much about it, honestly. I'll be straight. I just see a little bit on the news here and there, but I wonder if there's like in some of these industries that are unionized, there's a part that's unionized and there's a part that's not. I don't know. Is the entire like port unionized, like all the workers? I mean, could they bring in what do they call it, the second tier workers? The sub team come in and still do the job, or we completely shut down? I don't know what the situation is.
I don't know if there's a complete team that could replace the longshoremen, but so I did look at this a little bit. So there was a video posted by one of the wives that explained what was going on, and I'm sympathetic to a point.
Yeah. So I mean, I am too with anybody because I'm sure there's a reason they're going on strike.
Yeah. So this is what it is, and that's why I say to a point, because they're coming to a head with reality, and we've talked about this reality. And this is basically what happened. So basically, they operate on 6-year term contracts. So basically, over those term of 6 years, basically certain things happen, certain benchmarks, you have to wages, all this other stuff over those 6 years. And the last contract was supposed to expire at the tail end of last month. So at the end of September, it was supposed to expire. Well, the thing is that what was in that contract was the ports were not allowed to add any automation to any of the ports to maintain basically the employment level, because they have this fear of being put out of a job because of automation. Automation is going to displace people. The industrial age, mm-hmm. So you can see where I'm going. It's like I do have some sympathy to a point. So basically, the company violated the contract. They broke the contract. The longshoremen caught on to the fact that there was a violation of the contract and continued working either way. They started doing negotiations early with a stronger stance than they would have had normally because of the violation.
Okay.
So basically, so basically they said it's like, we want, over a 6-year term, a total of basically up to a 70% pay increase, and that would be divvied out over the 6 years. So it sounds like a lot, but when you actually divvy it out over 6 years,
they want a guarantee for the next 6 years of pay increase each year for cost of living. everybody wants that right now because cost of living.
Exactly.
So I get that, and I kind of figured that's what it was about.
Right.
Essentially, they want more money because it's expensive to live right now. So it's
And of course, they want guarantees again about automation. And the company responded to be like, no guarantees on automation. And here's going to be 50% over 6 years. So basically a kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
That's why I said I have some sympathy over this.
Right.
But automation is going to win at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, we're seeing the same thing with AI for our world.
Mm-hmm.
We're slowly going to get pinched out too. You can just have, we talked about this before, you can literally just have a monkey. I think eventually you can literally just have somebody that can type in terms and it'll spit out code and you can pretty much just copy and paste that code. So it's
case in point.
It's like, yeah.
Somebody gave basically some kind of prompt to some AI and effectively got a playable version of Doom without a game engine out of AI.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
We
might be getting in the weeds a little too much here with that stuff.
Yeah, we're probably getting in too much in the weeds. But yes, somebody basically did an AI generated game that was playable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I don't know. I just wonder, but again, I don't know if there's. So is this the people who are striking?
Is the ILA?
What is the ILA? I don't know what that is.
International Longshoremen's Association.
Okay, so are they the ones that are doing basically all the work, moving things on and off the ships? And
they're the ones that are responsibility of basically moving things on and off the ships.
Okay, so I'm sure there's like another group of people that do the rest,
I mean, other things, but you're talking about people that do it's pretty much hazardous work.
Yeah. The guys in the big tower up there sitting in the chair, moving the containers on off the boats.
Well, man, forklift drivers,
and then moving them through the yard and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. Getting them onto the trucks.
Trucks. Yep. Interesting. Oh, you're blowing up there. So
sorry.
So I don't know. That's I mean, we could literally see COVID 2.0 when it comes to this. And it kind of makes you wonder the timing of this whole situation.
Well, I mean, welcome to your October surprise.
Yeah.
Between the hurricane and this.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hurricane Helene did what, billions of dollars of damage.
Which is crazy because I mean, it was a huge hurricane, but as the amount of damage it did, how far it went inland. That's the thing. It's like,
and I saw estimates as high as 8 billion a day for the strike, but according to Reuters, and this was published 19 hours ago, they're estimating 5 billion a day. So there's your range. I mean, that's what this strike is going to cost.
Yeah, I wonder what ports are shut down.
I don't know if the port names, but this goes from Texas all the way up to Maine.
So it's basically wraps. Okay, I know there's West Coast ports too, so that's
right. Yeah, this doesn't go through the West Coast. This is just East Coast.
So basically, we're going to see the biggest here, pretty early on, because the way things work, it's a wave, move west.
Right. And that's the thing is that I was trying to explain this to somebody, is that anything that was destined for an East Coast port, you'd have to make sure that they're redirected to a West Coast port. There's going to add delays there. And then any goods that were destined to actually come to the East, either if they're not plane safe, then that means that you got a long haul truck or train to get the goods across the country. And if you're talking about food products, forget it. They're going to spoil before they even get here.
I mean, but the food products actually come on boats.
We ship in a lot of goods.
Yeah, but it's not going to be any
plastics, furniture, toys, knitted. This is not mentioned any food products. Basically,
yeah. I mean, anything, I think it would be dry goods, potentially, like long shelf life stuff, but not anything like that's perishable.
Yeah, this is saying it's going to affect a lot of machinery, electronics, vehicles,
Vehicles the
furniture,
big one. That's the big one.
plastics, knitted
Toilet paper.
apparel, toys, fabricated steel, precision instruments.
You didn't hear what I said.
No.
I said toilet paper.
We're going to run out again.
Yeah, well, it was proven that like we make our own toilet paper in the U.S. We don't import it. So it's during COVID, they said they're like the whole reason it was actually just a farce. That whole thing, I think, the reason it was a shortage of toilet paper because people just thought there would be a shortage. There really was never a shortage. It's just because people thought there would be a shortage, it created a shortage because the demand was higher than the production.
The production. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the way a lot of these things go. But at the same time, though, is that we have an on-demand economy.
Yes, well, that's and
which is a big part of it. And the other thing is that you just don't know what's going to get shut down because, yeah, we may manufacture it, but during COVID, a lot of industry was shut down because they were not essential. Yeah, and I think we talked about this before, but like egg farmers, they ran out of egg cartons for their eggs because the chickens don't stop laying, but the actual manufacturing plants that actually produce the egg cartons were shut down because they were deemed non-essential.
So they were an abundance of eggs.
Yeah.
So we do ship perishable on ships. They're called reefers. I just don't know how far we're moving it. You know, if it actually products. Let me see. Will perishable food products be I'm looking for affected by the strike. Poor strike. Because it does say we ship them, but it could be just short term. Yeah, food products like to be impacted by the near term include seafood. That makes sense. Because seafood can transport fairly well, I guess, because pretty much break down almost freezing or just frozen. Keep it fresh. Coffee and fruits and vegetables grown outside the U.S.
Yeah, most stuff is picked not ripe, and then I forget the technique, but there's a technique to force it to ripen after it's delivered.
Yep. Well, yeah, they like you said, picked but not ripe. So it's like bananas. Why do you think in bananas like there's if you see they ship bananas with the wrap on the end of the stem because they're not quite ripe because that's what makes them last longer. When they ripen as they transport. Because I think our bananas are all imported. Yeah. At some point, bananas are going to expire. Frozen seafood is going to defrost. Much said. Munch said. Munch. I don't know who Munch is, but yeah.
Well, it just depends on the good because during COVID, because remember, it's like it didn't happen that long ago. There was basically a backlog of container ships off the shore. And when the goods finally got delivered, there was actually a case where there was shoes that was delivered to the store, and the store had to throw them all out because since they were actually taking in the sea air, they started growing mold.
Yeah.
So it basically ruined all these shoes that was being brought in. So as I said, even you said, these people actually do have a lot of negotiating power.
Yeah, I think that's I think they realized it because of COVID. This is an effect from the COVID shutdown.
But I would just to make this mildly political though is that this actually, and this is kind of like long-standing. This is what shipping our jobs overseas ends up doing. We become dependent on these imports because we're not producing a lot of these goods here. Yeah. Because they wouldn't actually have this power if we were not importing things that we actually needed.
Yes. Well, that was certain somebody saw that and was trying to change that at one point. But yeah, they said we should start seeing shortages in about 3 weeks. So it's only the beginning.
Yeah. Well,
You won't, if you like your bananas, you're not going to have bananas. It literally says more than 75% of U.S. bananas arrive at ports.
Mm-hmm.
9 cherries, another one, 90%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the thing is that depending on your lifestyle and stuff like that, it's like what the hard.
Chocolate's another one, 80%.
Oh, stock upon chocolate. I need my chocolate. No, it's like I'm trying to avoid stuff like that, but it's like I'm probably going to stock up with some coffee though.
Yeah,
you can get more whole.
That is another one. I think. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I derailed you there. Yeah, I thought.
It's always the derailment, but but the thing is that when is really the fruit's the healthiest when it's vine ripened. When it's actually picked early or premature, it's not as healthy when you actually force it on ripen it offwards. I don't know the science behind it, but there's a lot of doctors that start it.
It makes complete sense because the fact that you're ripening on the vine, so you're fully baking it on the vine, which is pulling the nutrients from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like a baby,
right?
Like,
there's
a baby. Like
there's a lot of you're right. There's a lot of bidirectionality between the plant and the fruit.
Yeah,
and there are technically toxins that make the actual fruit bitter because when it's not ripe, because it's not ready to be eaten, and those actually go back into the plant when it actually ripens in the plant. But if you break it off, it becomes a little sweeter, but it still has those toxins in it.
Well, the toxins, I think there's
science in there, and there's doctors that have described it.
But also like the toxin, we just think of it as it doesn't taste good because we're used to eating when it's ripe, right? That's just it's just what we know versus if we've always known to pick a banana when it's green, eat it, we would think that's good, and then when it's yellow, we would say that that's rotten because it tastes bad to us because that's not what we're used to. That's just when there's a term I'm sure for science and I can't think of it, but it's basically like what's happening is any fruit is a seed essentially becoming the seed, becoming the what the plant natural reproduction and all that stuff like that. So it's that all has to happen. We just happen to pick it at the time where we think it tastes the best because that's what we know tastes the best from growing up with it.
But for the most part, it's just like fruits don't grow year round. It's just like there's a season for fruits.
Oh yeah, well I fully believe in eating seasonally versus eating year round. But
it's like eat seasonally, eat local, and probably be a lot healthier. But that's a different show.
right. Let's see. Another one is a big one I just saw here is 6% of the rum, 80% of the beer, wine, and whiskey and scotch. We might have to prolong our show here if we run out of spirits. Just kidding.
You might have to do it sober.
I drink all American made, so.
Oh wow, that was a dig.
Hey, well, it was a little bit because you like your rum over there.
Yeah,
rum boy.
I like my rum. I like my scotch. Leave me alone.
Yeah. 9% of the shipments pass through strike impacted ports. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it could get very interesting. Hopefully, and again, I sort of wonder if this is like a political ploy. It's like maybe somebody's going to come in and say, hey, look at me. I made all this, work again because I forced them to strike a deal. and I mean,
but
I
we'll
came in
see
and
how
saved the day, so you
we'll
should
see
vote
how
for me.
far it goes, because
Yeah.
Or this could go, because you said this before, maybe the administration is setting up the next one to fail.
Yes, I have read that and heard that.
And this would definitely do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like handing you a rotten banana.
Right. Well, I mean, look what's happening. Iraq and no, not Iraq, Iran and Israel. I mean,
Yeah, that was a
two
big thing this
major
week.
shots being fired.
I did forget about
I mean,
that.
it's just like the world's in turmoil.
The big. Sorry, I'm gonna go back to that. The big thing about that, and I don't think a lot of people realize, is we've stepped in. We got pulled into it, which is gonna piss off Russia and China. So, and again, there's another thing happening over in Russia and China right now, over in that side of the world, over by Alaska, that a lot of people aren't seeing in the news right now. That's happening, which is Russia and China have been over there, and they've been doing it since about a year, I guess, or two. Maybe there's longer. I was trying to remember. I read some articles about it, but basically, off the coast of Alaska and between the Bering Sea, we were very close. We have the Bering Sea, and then we have Alaska. Alaska and I'm sorry, Russia. And then the sea between it, which is like real close. China and Russia have been doing maneuvers over there. Now, they're just practicing. It's supposed to be like, how we do military maneuvers to practice. But they've been doing together in formations over there, which is interesting. Now, what happened is they had come across there's like this line in the sea of, essentially. They came across that line onto our side. Now, they did it. They're saying if you read the articles, everything's saying they basically did it because of the ice, which is like kind of okay, like they're like, hey, we get it. You're trying to do your training, but we sent 130 troops, I think it was, to some island off Alaska with long range missiles. Why would we do that if it was just, oh yeah, they just, they stepped across the line because of the ice, we had to let them, it's fine. Don't be alarmed. That's what it says. Every article I read is like, don't be alarmed. This is normal. This happens. They did it last year, but it's like the fact that the Coast Guard, it's the Coast Guard that's witnessing a lot of this, because they're the ones who are patrolling that area over there. But the fact that China and Russia are training together and are in formation together with their boats and ships and stuff, whatever you want to call them, it just seems like not a good thing. That's all I'm saying. It's
no.
I don't know. I just really, things are getting very interesting. Especially this whole Israel-Iran thing. So
yeah.
I don't. Sorry, I took it to a dark place. Like it's like,
it's fine. We're heading there either way. It just,
it's awareness. Really, is what I think boils down to. It's like we just really need to be aware. I don't think we're. A lot of people feed off the news. They don't pay attention to other things outside of what the news is telling them. And this is nowhere in the news. Like, you have to literally go look for it to find it. And it's like very minimal articles about it and stuff like that. So it's just.
That's actually true.
Do your own research. We talked about that before. It's like not only just in crypto, but also like just in the world. Just kind of be aware of stuff.
And that's one thing that people just know. There's an old term. There's lying through admission. The news does that as much as they do as straight up lying. Yeah. There was it was like, why do people try to make me defend Trump? But there was actually Detroit. They did this whole interview with the Detroit police chief, and he was touting how much crime has been reduced. And from the looks of the numbers, it looks great. It looks like Trump is a liar on the surface. Here's the problem. He didn't have a singular static date for every single crime category they were using. So in other words, when they did the reduction of crime and percentage, the date range was just all over the place between 2 years ago to 3 years ago. They didn't go all the way back to before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not back to those numbers. And the percentages, they looked good, but again, they're only going back to like 2 years ago. I'm like, but that's still underneath this administration. It's like I'm sorry, people, but you're not really selling me here,
right?
It's just like when you're actually, it's just like there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. I mean, it's like that's the epitome of what they were doing. Statistical analysis should actually give you a result that could give you some form of action. This was just presented in a way to where people are not paying attention. It's just, it's like I thought I would have lost some brain cells watching this, and this was the news. But it's like when they're paying attention to stuff like this, it's like, what are the things, like what you're talking about, to me is way more important. The ILA is way more important, It's just like there's a lot of things, especially on the national news levels. The CNN, MSNBC, the actual Fox. These 24/7 news channels.
Yeah,
these are the things they need to be focusing on, but they focus on these little things that don't matter.
Yeah,
and they just turn into distractions, and too many people buy into it. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of. Honestly, I think if it was more mainstream, people would actually be a little bit more. Things could happen. People might freak out because to me that's. I don't think a lot of people realize that China and Russia are so in cahoots. I mean, you're talking about two major powers in this world outside of the U.S. And China wants to be another world power. They're trying to become another world power. So it's like, what did we talk about? I don't know if we talked about it on here, but I think you mentioned it. I'm pretty sure. Didn't China and Russia separate themselves from the dollar at one point?
They're working on it.
They're okay. I know they're
close. I mean, it's like it's like one of the people that are friendly to the U.S., India, has signed on to basically BRICS and their new economic system.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, where we get a bulk of our oil, is signing on to basically BRICS.
Yeah.
So it's happening.
That's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. And the thing is that but for the people that are not paying attention, this administration has brought about this situation. And you're like, well, how is that even possible? Well, think about modern day sanctions. And sanctions, when it was actually, I can't remember where I read this, but it was like one of the many books on economics that I was actually reading. And it actually described sanctions as modern day siege. So basically a siege where you had basically a castle, castle basically had, the grain stores. They had some basically farm animals that they could actually feed on. And so basically it was a matter of who could outlast who. And typically it was the people surrounding the castle won.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sanctions are in modern day terms. Sanctions are an act of war in those terms.
Yeah.
So we put heavy sanctions onto Russia, which means that Russia cannot do business with the United States or its allies without us imposing some penalty on some other nation.
Right.
So where does that put Russia? They need allies. Right into China's hands.
Yep.
Here's the other thing is to say, and there's a lot of people talking about this philosophy of the fourth turning and the rise of a new empire and the waning of an old one. The United States has been...
Sounds familiar.
China, the United States
Roman
has
Empire.
yes, the Roman Empire and the fall of the Roman
Yeah.
Empire. Here we are,
Yep.
two guys talking about the Roman Empire.
It's
United States has been in existence for, we're a really young nation, but at the same time, because of our Constitution that some politicians, John Kerry, wanted, don't like for numerous reasons, mostly the First Amendment. Because of that, we actually managed to be an anomaly. Most countries don't last this long. Now, we've been an empire since about World War II.
mm-hmm.
The last empire before us was the British Empire. World War II bankrupted them. Mm-hmm. And effectively, because of that, we took over. And we became an empire after that. Now, empires switch hands over one two ways. Either the one that's in existence backs out, or there's a global war. China's on the rise to become a global power. So do we want that global war to put them back down into their place, or are we backing down?
Well, that's the question.
Yes.
Will we be able to put them back in their place? That's the thing. We don't know.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, have you seen some of the videos? There was a video actually showing some of these hypersonic missiles and how fast they are. It is insane. People have no idea, what an actual nuclear war would look like. Because by the time a missile actually shows up as a blip on the radar, it's going off.
Yeah. Do you watch Johnny Harris at all? I think I sent you some of his stuff. I watched a video recently that it's probably about a month old now, but he compared the submarines of all in the world. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because, the big ones are obviously Russia, China, and we have the most, mm-hmm. the biggest, and, what they're packing essentially, so we have, he was showing a diagram basically of all the subs across the world and how we control the seas with this. China's got a bunch too, and some big ones. And I think, he made a comment in there and just stuck with me. It was, but this is what we know of. It's like,
yep.
So, you got to think China's a technology advanced country, probably essentially more advanced than we are in technology. So to think that they don't have other stuff that we don't know about, that's, I don't know. It's kind of, I would say it's like kind of thinking to think that we're the only people in this universe, the only intelligent being, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like
it's like yes,
that same naive thinking, it's like
I am agreeing with you. This is like, and the only pushback that is the only pushback is that the number of publicly known failed aviation programs, I'm assuming is a cover.
Okay, well that's a whole other thing,
right? It's just like it's like we have this multi-million-dollar plane that's outclassed by an F-16.
Right.
In the next 5-10 years, they're going to actually tell us the actual aircraft that actually did replace it. Because because I'm talking about like the F-22 because about how expensive it is.
Yeah, there's a new plane. That's why we built the new carriers, because of the new.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, talk about like this stealth bomber. How long was that secret before we found out about it?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they're spending a lot of money on research and development on a public plane.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we're stagnant and staying still either.
Right,
That's not what I'm implying. I'm just.
But I'm saying it's like, can China have stuff that we don't know about? Yes.
Yeah.
They have no qualms about stealing technology. They do it all the time. They steal patents. And obviously, between that and defectors, people that give up information, which happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like
I think we're on a tangent here.
Oh, we are definitely on a tangent. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I'm out of a drink. So
am I. I've been out for a little while, but you were going on a roll.
Yeah, I know we were on a roll, and I feel like we're going down a rabbit hole here. So I think we call it. What do you say?
Yeah, it was pretty good. People need to join the conversation in the comments.
Hopefully, we don't get banned from YouTube or whatever right now, because I feel like we touched on some things that probably is a little forte. But we're not being paid to do any of this, so it doesn't matter. I think at this point, but
exactly, we're not. Well, this is like it. Well, yeah. The thing is, I was like, I don't. Even if we said, so that's actually kind of funny. Yeah. I don't know how that would work.
We're not monetized, so
we're definitely not monetized.
If we're monetized, that'd be a different situation. But yeah, it's all I gotta say is things are getting interesting, and it's going to continue over the next few months. I think we're gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in October. We're just over a month away from elections, and I think we could see a lot.
Just for just make it fun. There was a meme that actually popped up on X. It was like, how's October going? So October being basically, or October, excuse me, sorry. October being a month typically that crypto typically kind of takes off a little bit. And there's basically a model like fighter jet. It goes up, clips its wing against the ground, goes up, flips over, crashes to the ground, breaks apart, and catches fire. Because market's in the red, so
yeah.
But yeah, it's just like to really. The thing is that pre-COVID, market rates were near zero. Money was extraordinarily cheap. During COVID, after COVID, there was a lot of stimulus money on, basically everything. Basically, the smart money went after assets. The dumb money went after basically goods, and everybody else went after effectively needs. And that's where the money went. And ultimately, we had a really strong run during that period. I don't expect it to repeat.
No, I agree with that.
And but yeah, it's just like the Federal Reserve, they did a reduction in the interest rate, which makes loans a little bit cheaper, but we are not anywhere near the levels, even though it was just like in the 80s. I mean, interest rates were 16% for the Federal Reserve, and that was normal. And today we're saying it's like, oh, well, it was a 0.5% cut to what, down 5%, or I don't know what the total is for the Federal Reserve, but
right. Well, the problem is yes, okay, but cost of living was way cheaper then.
Mm-hmm.
Houses were cheaper than what is now. The thing is the cost of living goes up. Rates have got to come down because of the way you can't have high cost of living and high rates. Nobody will be able to do anything. So I think that's what we're seeing.
It's a double-edged sword, but you can't go back to zero either.
Yeah, you can't. We can't. No, we're not going to see those 3%, 2% rates we had, back then, for housing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to do this, so again, I think we've talked about this, I think we're coming towards the end of potentially the dollar. So because we're out, it's becoming more expensive to live on the dollar than what the dollar's worth because of the rates. And you can't go back. You can't bring rates down to nothing. If they go to zero, if they go to negative, that's when we'll have problems. That's the dollar's going away at that point, because that means our dollar's not worth nothing. It's literally worth negative.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in time, we're nearing the end of it. Now, when does that end? Nobody knows. We're not fortune tellers, but you see what I'm saying? It's like we had high rates in the 80s, 16, but the dollar, meant
Mm-hmm.
more. But now the rates have come down, but the dollar's worth less. It's just like this whole little thing. I don't know.
And well,
I'm not able to articulate it well, but you know what I'm trying to say.
It effectively turns into this death spiral, to where eventually hyperinflation of the dollar will happen.
Right.
It's going to happen. It's whether or not people are prepared for it to happen. Do you have the assets in hand to deal with it? Because assets value, your land value, gold value, it's like 1 ounce of gold is still equal to 1 ounce of gold. That's always true. One Bitcoin is still equal to 1 Bitcoin. That's going to always be true, right? But $1 today is not equal to $1 yesterday. And when it goes into hyperinflation, right? Mm-hmm. That's the problem. So if you buy it's like if all you have is, for example, $1,000 to buy a little bit of gold, and you have $1,000 of gold, and it's not going to be a lot. It's going to be about half an ounce, quarter of an ounce, or whatever it is price wise right now. I'm not looking it up. So just moving on with the example. How much does that really buy you? Because when you actually take a look at what the fair market value over the centuries of what 1 ounce of gold is, we're talking about you buying a fraction of that. 1 ounce of gold was, go back to Roman times, let's bring that back full circle, was a nice toga, a nice pair of sandals.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through the centuries of what 1 ounce of gold was worth. It was, fast forward to the 1800s, it was a nice suit, pocket watch, nice shoes. Basically, 1 ounce of gold was you dressing well.
Right. It's not that the gold value ever changed. It's just that it did essentially. The value changed, but it held value on what it could get you. If that makes sense.
Well, it's just like what it got you in every single turn of century.
Yes, was
nice being well dressed, well presented.
Yep.
At a minimum,
because it held the value that it required to do that.
Correct. Because the person you're paying is the tailor. The person you're paying is the cobbler.
Right.
Right. In other words,
that's why cash. That's why cash is not king, essentially. Because if you put $1,000 away today in cash and put it whatever in your mattress, and then 20 years from now you pull that $1,000 out, it's not going to get you the same thing that you could have got 20 years ago. Now it's getting you less.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally what that's what I'm trying to say.
I'm just
a different example of it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the direction we're heading. It's just like it's unfortunate. Either you're prepared or you're not.
That's why assets are king.
Yes, and assets are king, because the definition of assets is changing with the digital age.
Right. All right. Well,
with that, I am Jeff.
That's Jeff. Until next time.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
All right.